2, 1, live.
Hey, good morning. Recognizing a quorum of commissioners, I call the December 17th, 2024 meeting of the Cannabis Control Commission to order. This meeting is being held hybrid pursuant to Chapter 22 of the Acts of 2022 and is being recorded. Commissioners Camargo, Concepcion, Roy, and myself are participating in today's meeting. All votes taken today will be by roll call. I know Commissioner Roy is joining us virtually, and we expect Commissioner Concepcion to join us during the meeting. We have a full agenda today that I will generally summarize. We will start with any opening comments from commissioners, then an open meeting law complaint. If necessary, the commission may enter into an executive session before we proceed to staff license recommendations. There are 4 license renewal recommendations, 3 final license recommendations. There is 1 item in the commission discussion and vote section today, and that is draft regulations, social consumption license types. I will ask that the commissioners wishing to comment or ask questions during any part of the meeting raise their hand to be recognized. With those initial comments, I'll turn things over to commissioners for any comments or any updates. Commissioners will go in alphabetical order. I'll give my comments last, but I'll start with Commissioner Camargo.
Good morning. Thank you. And looking forward to today's conversation once we get to the social consumption regulatory language, and just very grateful. I know this is not our last meeting. I know we have one more meeting tomorrow, but just grateful to our team and our leadership and my colleagues for another great year at the commission in terms of a lot of work that we've gotten done. So just excited to be here today.
Thank you. I think Commissioner Concepcion has joined us, but Commissioner Roy, I'll invite you to make some comments. And I know you were at a roundtable yesterday, so if there are any thoughts or feedback you want to share about your event yesterday, we'd like to hear them. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. I will be brief. I'm still struggling to get my health back, so I'm going to conserve my energy. But yes, yesterday I had the opportunity to travel out to Westfield to meet with about 50 licensees. I want to thank David O'Brien and the CBA and Safetiva Labs. They hosted it out at a brewery out that way, and it was really a constructive conversation and dialogue, primarily around testing, but some other topics as well. So really grateful for those opportunities. I feel it's my job to listen and learn about the challenges that folks are facing out there, and so I was grateful for that and look forward to doing more of those in the future. And also just looking forward to today. I know my colleagues, Acting Chair Stebbins and Commissioner Camargo, have put so much energy, effort, and time into this, so I want to thank them, and just looking forward to seeing the meat put on the bones of social consumption today. So excited for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate you being here. I don't really have anything to add other than just excited for today. Happy to hear about the size audience at yesterday's roundtable that Commissioner Commissioner Roy participated in, and anxious to jump into the agenda today. All right, we will move on. The next item is an open meeting law complaint that the commission has received. Obviously, commission is, as a public body, is required to respond within 14 days. I will turn things over to our general counsel to kind of walk through the concerns. If we need to, we have an option to go into executive session, but I'll let our general counsel kind of kick off the discussion of the complaint itself.
Good morning, Acting Chair. Thank you. And good morning, commissioners. We have received an open meeting law complaint, and this was received on December 5th. Wanted to just walk through very quickly what the complaint alleges and then a proposed response. So the complaint has to do with alleged violations around executive session involving discussions regarding the executive director selection process. And what the complaint does is cite a number of media reports and uses the substance of those reports, which are based on surmise and conjecture, to allege a violation of the open meeting law. And the allegation is that discussions were had that were beyond the scope of purpose number 2 for the open meeting law. What we're doing here now, pursuant to guidance from the Attorney General's office, complaints such as these have to be circulated to the members of the public body. We have circulated the complaint to the commissioners in accordance with those directives, and then the public body must meet to discuss the complaint, which we're here doing now. My recommendation to the board here is to now refer this matter to legal to respond to the complaint in accordance with open meeting law. As I stated earlier, the complaint fails to allege a violation of the meeting law as it's based on speculation and conjecture culled from media sources. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Acting Chair.
Okay. Thank you, General Counsel. Any questions from my colleagues? Commissioner Wright. Commissioner Wright, go ahead.
I'm sorry. General Counsel, when was that email sent to us?
I believe the complaint is dated December 5th.
But you said you circulated, like legal circulated something to us?
Well, there was, as part of your packages and as the complaint itself has been posted as part of the meeting packet. So the complaint has been circulated to you.
Can we go into an exec session?
That is entirely up to the board.
That's up to, Commissioner Roy, if you'd like to, we can take a break. We
Yeah.
can move into an executive session to
Yes,
discuss it.
please.
Okay. All right. Pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A1, I seek a motion to discuss a complaint brought against the Cannabis Control Commission, the public body. Is there a motion, Commissioner Camargo? May I have a second, Commissioner Roy?
Second.
Okay. Let the record show the motion was made by Commissioner Camargo, seconded by Commissioner Roy. Any comments or questions? Hearing none on the motion that has been seconded, I'll take a roll call vote. I don't think Commissioner Concepcion is with us, but Commissioner Roy, when you give your vote, if you can just affirm that you are alone and nobody can hear your deliberations. Commissioner Camargo.
Aye.
Commissioner Concepcion is not with us at this point. Commissioner Roy.
I am alone and no one can hear my deliberations. Aye.
Okay. And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye. Let the record show the motion was approved unanimously. We will now transition into executive session. For the record, the individuals participating in the session will be the 4 commissioners, our acting executive director and chief people officer, our general counsel, Kajal Chattopadhyay, deputy general counsel, Michael Baker, associate general counsel, Mike Berquist, and our legal assistant, Ivania Corrales-Solis. As a reminder, the commission will reconvene back in open session. All right, we will move into executive session.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Thank my colleagues. Commissioner Roy, you're back with us?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Roy. Thank you to my colleagues. If there's no other further comments or discussion on this item, I'd entertain a motion to direct legal to respond to the complaint in compliance with the open meeting law. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Camargo? Would you second that, Commissioner Roy?
Second.
Oh,
Second.
okay. All right, thank you. Motion been made and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo?
Aye.
Commissioner Concepcion is not with us yet. Commissioner Roy
Aye.
and Commissioner Stebbins votes aye. 3 in favor, none opposed, 1 not voting. All right. All right. Next, we will move on to staff recommendations on licensure. I think Jamie Wakefield is joining us. Jamie, you thought you were done with us? Morning.
I'm glad I got called back. It's great.
All right, so are we. Good morning. First of all, I do want to thank our legal team. This is a little bit out of the ordinary, but as we've talked about at previous public meetings, I want to afford our licensing team any opportunity in a public meeting to bring forward or invite them to bring forward any renewals that they would like to get done, any final licenses that they would like to get done. Any changes of ownership that are, again, ready to go, but may have just missed the submission deadline for our regular public business meetings. So we just have a small roster for us to consider today. But again, greatly appreciate their time, our Director of Licensing, all the folks at I&E and licensing for, again, if we can save folks just a little bit of time in taking up their license renewals or final applications, again, at a posted public meeting, we're happy to do that. Jamie, go ahead. You want to do our renewals first?
Absolutely. There are 3 adult use renewals and 1 medical marijuana treatment center renewal for consideration today. Commission staff recommend review and decision on the renewal applications before you, and if approved, request that the approval be subject to the licensee remaining compliance with the commission regulations and applicable law.
Okay. Any comments or questions on these renewals? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve license renewals 1 through 4 is provided in the board meeting book. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Camargo? Would you second that, Commissioner Roy?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, do a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo? Commissioner Concepcion is not with us yet. Commissioner Roy?
Aye.
And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye. 3 in favor, none opposed, 1 not voting. All right. We will move on to staff recommendation on final licenses.
There are 2 adult use and 1 medical marijuana treatment center final license recommendations for the commission's consideration today. Commission staff recommend review and decision on these final licenses, and if approved, do request your approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie. Again, great to see we have some final licenses. Again, hopefully move them a little bit closer to commenced operations. Any questions or comments on these final licenses? Okay, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the 3 final licenses as provided for in the commission's public meeting packet. Do I have such a motion, Commissioner Camargo? Do I have a second, Commissioner Roy?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, quick roll call vote, Commissioner Camargo.
Congrats and aye.
Thank you, Commissioner Roy.
Aye.
And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye. Commissioner Concepcion is not with us yet. 3 in favor, none opposed, and 1 not participating, 1 not voting. All right. We will move on to Jamie. I think that's it. Are you all set?
I think that's it. Thank you for having me present again. Happy holidays to everyone, and thank you for all your hard work on the social consumption regulations today.
Thank you, Jamie. Thanks for all your hard work and that of your colleagues. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Right. We'll move on to the next item, which is commission discussion and votes. We have 1 item under commission and discussion and votes. That is the draft regulations for the social consumption license types. Again, the purpose here is to allow us to walk through with our Deputy General Counsel, Michael Baker, who has been doing a lot of the drafting of the regs and the reg changes and the red line versions. Walk through these changes, talk about them at a high policy level. Again, this is not part of the formal promulgation process yet, so you're not going to see us go through line by line, word by word, and do a lot of that wordsmithing that we do in the formal promulgation period. This is to give commissioners and staff and the public a chance to see what are some, following up on the presentation we had on the 5th, what are some of the changes that will be incorporated into our regulations, giving the public, giving commissioners, giving staff really a first time to see their final draft red line version. To walk through these, answer questions, and at the end of the day, hopefully be in a position that we can officially put these out for public informal public comment with a target kind of closing on the comment period of January 23rd. So with that said, and we're joined by a lot of our team from legal, I&E, our chief of staff, and our deputy general counsel. As we go through these, Commissioner Roy, I'll keep an eye on you on the meeting. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. And again, we'll walk through at a high level where the changes are, some of the policy questions that we're posing, and I'll turn it over to our Deputy General Counsel, Mike Baker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Acting Chair. It's been a pleasure working with you and Commissioner Camargo on these, and the working group as well. There's a lot of great things I think that we have in this draft, and I'm looking forward to making additional amendments after public feedback. The first slide we have, so I put a presentation together briefly. The first slide that we have covers the definitions. So we're making 17 changes to the definitions. Some are new and some are amendments that were already existing. But there's definitely a lot newer definitions, especially as it pertains to the different license types and what is included in that. There's especially the marijuana event organizer. That one brought along with it plenty of definition changes. So please look out for those. Very interested in receiving feedback as they pertain to the definitions, because they're very important. So we listed the definitions on this slide right here. And again, we're looking forward to feedback as it pertains to them. The next slide, please. The next slide is the 3 different license types. This is just a reminder that
Commissioner Roy, go ahead.
I don't know if this is the appropriate, thank you, Acting Chair. I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but I did have a question about the definition of beverage.
Do you want to get into that now? You want to get through it when we,
Sure.
You want to talk about it now?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Mike, could you read aloud the definition of beverage?
So before I do that, I would just want to respond, if I may, Mr. Acting Chair. Beverage was an existing definition before, and the first line is unamended, and the second line is the additional consideration we're seeking to make. So it reads right now, beverage means a liquid intended for drinking under 935 CMR 500, bought 141, period 141. A beverage means a marijuana infused product intended for drinking by consumers in a designated consumption area in a social consumption establishment's premises.
Okay. If I may,
Yes.
I think it's just missing something on that. And I know we're not going line by line, but I think we have to insert non-alcoholic in there because you have a loophole. So I think we should insert the word somewhere non-alcoholic.
I will, Mr. Acting Chair, if I may,
Yeah.
I'll make a note of that, Commissioner. Yeah, I'll make a note of that and follow up on it, to include it in the draft.
Thank you.
Head out.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Chief of Staff, Kevin.
Like the reference to 141, is that, so this is particular only to that section or the entire regs?
Yes, because that was purposeful, because beverage is used throughout the regs in other areas, and I wanted to ensure that it was only used for social consumption in that context, meaning that it's infused.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And again, these are subject to change, so I'm looking forward to feedback from internal and external stakeholders on all the definitions.
Acting Chair.
Yes. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. Deputy General Counsel, so if I may just propose some language, like THC infused beverages are non-alcoholic drinks that contain THC. So I don't know if there's a way to. THC infused beverages are non-alcoholic drinks that contain THC. So I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. Thank you.
Mr. Acting Chair?
Sure.
If we make additional amendments here, what I could do is work with other staff in order to update it for folks looking from the public prior to the start of the open comment period, so that they have the most updated draft. So I can include that, but I just wanted to make a note of that while we're talking about it.
Okay.
I think if I may,
Go ahead.
I think
Commissioner.
what would be helpful too, Mike, is if we run through the presentation, and then kind of come back. Because I think the purpose of today is really just kind of going through the presentation, and then all these comments need to be in there. And then if folks have some stuff right now that you feel needs to be in there, I think make a note of it now, and then we'll come back at the end. But I think for the purpose of the presentation, I think, Mike, it'll be better if you just kind of go through it first. Is that fair? Yeah. Okay.
Could we pull up the next slide, please? So this is speaking to the different classes of social consumption establishments that the commission is offering. The first is supplemental. So again, if you're an existing ME, again, it's qualifying. So up at the top, then you could have a supplemental on-site consumption license in or attached to your existing ME. Whereas the hospitality would be an independent, or could be an independent business. Again, I've heard that as mixed use. It's been referred to before. I think that's a good name for it. And then again, the event organizer being unique in so much as it's a temporary on-site location. So just wanted to bring that refresher up prior to getting into the rest of the amendments, because I thought this was a good slide from our last presentation. So next slide, please. The next amendment that we make, and again, I'm going in order of the regs, and this presentation is not every single amendment, but at the high level, which amendments we're making. So in 005 under fees, we do make an allocation for each license class. And before it was only listed as social consumption establishments for $1,500 for the application fee, and then 10,000 for the annual licensing fee. And so the working group broke it down to be as follows: 1,500 for the application fee and 5,000 for supplemental. For the hospitality, it's 1,500 for the application fee and 10,000 for the annual licensing fee. And for the event organizer, it is 1,000 for the application fee and 5,000 for the licensing fee. Do you want to say anything? I think it's that.
Yep.
All right, next slide, please. So the next slide pertains to 050, so that's the marijuana establishment section. Where the large bulk of the amendments that we're making here are under subsection 6, because that is pertaining to social consumption establishments. And the amendments that we're making here, we're going off of the prior round made by commissioners. So thank you, former commissioners and staff, for giving us a good place to start. The control limitations is one of the more important things that we're amending here. So we are limiting it consistent with the statute to be 3 licenses per class. So we're doing 9 in total. And again, it's similar to the delivery license allowance that we just made. And again, under subsection 6, again, that's the bulk of the amendments. We established the 3 license classes there and add specific requirements as it pertains to each. So I definitely want to flag for the public that please put your attention into subsection 6, because that's a large portion of the amendments. Also in this section, under, I believe it's C, 6C, is the exclusivity period, which the working group extended from 36 months to 60 months, so 5 years. And this is unique to the amendments that we're making, but we tied the exclusivity period start date to the hospitality on-site consumption license, because the working group believes that it would take more or a longer period of time for that specific license class to get up and running, whereas the supplemental seemingly could get up and running much quicker. So that's why that policy is there. Anything?
Commissioner Wright?
I can save it to the end. I want to put a pin. I have a question about control limitations. So if you would like Mike to get through his slides, I do have a question on that. So
Okay.
however you want to.
We can put a pin on it when we start going through the regs. Yeah, we'll let Mike finish. There's only, I think, a couple of slides in this presentation.
Okay, if I could
So-
ask it today, like once he's done.
Yep.
Because he might need time for contemplation on it, but okay, thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Next slide, please. So again, part of the amendments that we're making here are streamlining the social consumption, supplemental on-site consumption application process. And again, that's in furtherance of what I was just saying before in the last slide. We do anticipate that marijuana establishments will be able to get that up and running quickly, especially because we are streamlining some unnecessary requirements in so much as you're already licensed. So we can expedite that as best as we can. So in addition, under 101, so this is going to be upon application for social consumption establishments. There's a few different things that are really important that licensees, or applicants, I should say, are going to have to choose between. So we do this in order to cut down on compliance costs and also to make it a little bit easier. So the first one is which license class. So in order to get the license, you have to ultimately pick which class you're going to be. And you can pick one for each license. And then which type of consumption area. So we'll have different compliance required for non-smoking versus if you do indoor or outdoor smoking. The big thing here being if you allow indoor smoking consumption areas, that you're going to have a filtration system, which could be burdensome for folks to obtain. So we wanted to make sure if you were doing non-smoking consumption areas that you were able to get up and running faster and with less cost prohibitive measures there. So the last one is for event organizers specifically. The working group is giving them the option to warehouse or not warehouse. So again, this is really important. It's an important distinction because similar to when delivery was being rolled out for courier and delivery operators, here we wanted to give the option of both at the onset. So whether event organizer's warehouse, you can essentially run the events yourself. But if you're not going to warehouse, you're likely going to have to partner or contract with another ME in order to provide product for consumption at these establishments. So these are some of the nuances that folks will have to go through when they're applying. And they're important to distinguish here again for compliance going forward. Next slide, please. All right, so general operations requirements. So for this one, under 105, we created the core curriculum. And these are A through G are different trainings that agents will have to go through. Mr. Acting Chair, I don't know if you want to speak to this. I know it's something that you cared a lot about.
Yeah, just real quickly, obviously, every agent who touches a plant has to go through RVT training. We've done a lot of great work as a team to promote a enhanced RVT training, as well as carving out a delivery core curriculum for any agent that is registered with a delivery operator or a delivery courier. I think for me, one of the things that I heard a lot, and I know it was echoed with Commissioner Camargo, and this came from both industry and public safety folks who we've talked to and engaged with, this notion of training. Training is going to be critically important. And we hear that again, both from potential operators as well as the public safety stakeholders that we've talked to. So, and we've talked about creating a working group that will design a curriculum for us to adopt. These are just some of the topics that we pulled in, certainly not an exclusive list of topics, but things that I picked up going through an RVT training, I picked up going through a DRE training, I picked up going through a ServSafe training in terms of what might be specific training for anybody who ends up working in a social consumption establishment.
And sorry, Chair, if I may, these are over and above what is already required for marijuana establishments and for retail sales. So this is, again, supplemental to that. Next slide, please. All right, so in addition to 500-050-6, 141 is additional operational requirements for social consumption establishments. So the majority of the amendments that we're making are in those two sections. So please take a look at these and have a careful eye for them. The amendment starts out, and again, I want to thank the prior commissioners for establishing this, but all social consumption establishments shall comply with requirements of 105, 110, 140, and the section that we're amending here, 141. So to just kind of talk through that, 105 is general operation requirements for MEs, 110 is security requirements for MEs, 140 is retail requirements, essentially. So again, by making them comply with all of those, really what we need to understand is what exceptions are going to have to be implemented here. And so we do carve out a few exceptions under 141 below, but again, just flagging for folks that these are important to establish, that everyone will have to comply with these sections. They're obviously well versed if they're already an existing entity in how to comply with them. But in addition, we make amendments to additional SOPs, limitations on sales, the consumption areas, waste disposal, incident reporting, and indoor and outdoor smoking. So those are my slides. I also, for the public, we added the diagrams at the end of this presentation on the public meeting packet. So please take a look at those. And I also just want to reiterate that that's not an exhaustive list. It's just to put out there some ways that the working group was thinking about how consumption areas and these premises could look. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right,
Commissioner Stubbins?
Commissioner Camargo.
Oh, I see Commissioner Roy, good. I'm gonna say, just want to make sure that, when we're kind of done with either conversation or questions, that we reiterate to the public in terms of the informal public comment and, you know, what's our purpose and why we're doing it this way, and also the deadline, which is the 23rd of January. And yeah, so.
Thank you. Commissioner Roy?
Thank you. Betsy, whoever's producing, could we go back to the slide that said control limitations, please? Okay, so individuals and entities limited to 3 licenses per class. So could we go back to the slide now that has the 3 license types? So if we look at event organizer, I'm wondering if there's tension in those 2 things. In other words, that's a transient license type. Kim Roy's, I say I have an expo. Kim Roy's Canna Curious Expo. So if I have it, say, 3 of them a year, so our license are capped in perpetuity at 3. So how does that work? If the following year, so I used up my 3 in my Kim Roy's Canna Curious Expo, and what do I do the next year? I already hit my 3.
I think just like other licenses, you would have to reapply for the next year. Otherwise, it would expire.
Capped at 3, it says.
So you hold the event organizer license, you do your events, and you just move the event organizer license.
Yes.
You're telling us when the events are.
Right, just like you need 3 marijuana establishments. Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Yeah.
You guys may have to speak up a little louder because I can't even hear you.
So Commissioner Roy, to your point, or to your question, Kim Roy's Canna Expo, you can have a license as an event organizer, and each year you're allowed to do, and we'll talk about it as we get into the regs, you know, how many events, how many times a year. Next year, you will just renew your event organizer license to do those events again. And you can have
Okay.
up to 3 of those event licenses. So the event organizer license isn't, it's a license to operate.
And
So-
also,
Mike, get closer to the mic. So she can-
Yeah, thank you.
also just in furtherance of that last point, in order to obtain, you must obtain a permit in order to put the event on under your license. So every event requires a permit that is, you know, approved by the commission in order to put on.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. So if I'm allowed to have 24 events, that falls under, why would I need 3? Does 1 cover all 24? And how does the 3 work based on the 24?
You could have 3 different companies, Commissioner. So you could have, you and I could have one. And then that's just weddings. And then you and someone else can have one that's just education to seniors. Just that, and then you can have another one that's like a big event. So you could have 3 event license companies. Does that make sense?
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, and remember right now, which is why we're really asking the public and folks that, you know, do events and are out there to really give us feedback. You know, we went back and forth on the number of days in length. We also thought about events per year, right? So I think that's another, you know, it's a placeholder right now in terms of, what we, gathered in terms of best practices, but, you know, it's a placeholder, but yeah.
Go ahead,
You
Commissioner.
could see how it could get a little confusing because, so one license type event organizer could cover it, me for 24 events.
Mhm.
Yep,
And the only reason I need go for the other two is, does the events have to be the same title, location, theme to be in the 24?
No.
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 No. So again, you can, Commissioner Roy, you want to open up an event organizer business. With that license, you can schedule and organize 24 events, no longer than 5 days long for each event. Obviously, you're only doing that event with licensed marijuana establishments in Massachusetts. So we'll have reporting requirements. You'll obviously also have to go through any local municipalities event permitting process as well. Go ahead.
So I guess what I'm thinking is if I'm me and I want to host 24 events, all different types, demographics, audiences, locations, I'm gonna save money and I'm not gonna need to apply for the other two because I can mix and match within the 24. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
But, and you know, Commissioner Roy, just, 'cause we're having a conversation, but, you know, yes, absolutely, but also just think about, like, you know, there's folks that are, you know, may wanna be in partnership and do small businesses, you know, small events, and there may be, you know, other folks that wanna do larger events with, you know, partner with another larger company or something like that, you know, so it allows you to, you know, like every other license, you know, have the three, or, so. Commissioner Roy, answer.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Yeah, so I guess I don't,
Hmm.
other than holding more than 24 events,
Yeah,
what is the reason why I would need a second one?
you don't, but you have the option to.
Go ahead.
Let's say I am looking to have a couple different styles of events. Like I want to have one event in one location 24 times. And then I wanted to get another license where I could take that across the state and do the 24 events in various locations. That would necessitate a second license in that instance. So for instance, I wanted to do consumption trivia at one location twice a month, then I could do that. And so again, we're just making it more flexible for folks who want to use it in ways that we haven't thought of necessarily.
So that's, oops,
Go ahead.
thank you. So that's an opposite answer, Deputy General Counsel, than I heard like 2 minutes ago.
I don't think so, but go ahead. So,
So I said, if I want to host it, different locations, different themes, different
Yeah.
demographics, I only need that, as long as I stay within 24, I only need that one type.
correct.
Yes.
If you want to do more than the 24, you'd
Then I
have
need
to
a second
apply
one.
for another event organizer. Like,
Okay, thank you.
I mean, not to get in the weeds of it, but because this is open.
Yeah.
This is a public meeting and we are having this conversation, Commissioner Roy, just because I want to make sure that, you know, the public is probably saying, what? But to your point, you know, right now, we have it as 5 days in length, no more than 24 events per year, right? So let's say that the 24 changes and it becomes 30. You know, it becomes 30 or it becomes less, but regardless, you know, you still, like every other license type, you have the ability to have, you know, other businesses within your, same class type. And, you know, when you see some of this stuff, you see that, you and I may go into business together, and you may want to go into business as well with somebody else because you have another investor or another partner, you know, so you can mix match, and or have, you know, separate companies, but, you know, I think it allows folks to have the flexibility to do this. And, you know, the event organizer, this is not going to be you know, not going to be easy, especially if you're doing large events, right? So, you know, just some flexibility, but I appreciate the questions and walking it through. You know, one of the, yeah, I see, one of the fourth group that we set up as part of the working group for implementation is just this. What we're doing right now is having those conversations and thinking about what can this look like is really what I want that fourth working group to be, so that folks can talk through these licenses and talk through scenarios and, you know, figure out what works best. So.
And as speak for myself, you know, as drafted, I think we wanted to make sure that we were being consistent, that your ownership and control is no more than 3 of any available license type. Go ahead, Commissioner.
And within that umbrella, the ownership and control has to be SCP, EEA, microbusiness or craft cooperative within those umbrellas, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
And that means 50.01?
Good question, Commissioner Roy.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Chair. So social equity businesses are also included in the draft regulations. So that would be the 51 that you're referring to. That's inclusive of that. So you could have the social equity business, but you could also, over and above that, have social equity program participants, economic empowerment applicants, and then the other classes that we mentioned.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. All right. You're done with your slides. Do you want to jump right into
Next steps.
the red line version and walk through again some of each section and some of the highlights? I gotta find those.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Chair. Sure, I will go through again at a high level. I flagged for the public all of the amendments that we're making as it pertains to the definitions under section 002. So I feel like we can skip over those right now.
Or just walk through kind of a quick description. You know, we have Commissioner Roy's points on with respect to the beverage definition, but just run through those quick definitions again that we want people to be mindful of.
Sure. We have close associate is amended. That's important because of the non-cannabis business and the hospitality on-site consumption license. We were concerned that we would run afoul of that definition as it was written. So we made sure to take a stab at creating a carve out there for that, and definitely welcome feedback from folks on that definition. We define consumption areas again as non-smoking, indoor smoking or outdoor smoking. Obviously, we define the different license classes that we're establishing here. So hospitality, on-site consumption, marijuana event organizer, and the supplemental on-site consumption. We further define smoking, indoor smoking consumption area, outdoor smoking consumption area, and non-smoking consumption area. Again, in furtherance of the consideration that we made with close associate, we're also concerned that we would need to amend person or entity having indirect control. For the marijuana event organizer, we felt like it was necessary to update the principal place of, or to create a new definition for principal place of business, and also warehouse for the same consideration. And so those are the bulk of the definitions and why we made those amendments. Under 005, for the fees, which starts on page 32, okay. Commissioner Roy has a question if you want to.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner Wright.
Deputy General Counsel, my question is on the consumption area definition.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if we need to include, and I'll read it, consumption area means a space approved by the commission in a social consumption establishment's premises where consumers may consume marijuana or marijuana products. I think we need to say purchased on site because it's a little vague that where the products are purchased is not, it's silent.
Yes, Mr. Acting Chair, I agree with you, Commissioner. I think that's a good flag and I will incorporate it in the draft prior to, I guess it's already up right now in the public meeting packet for folks to take a look at, but I think what we could do is update it. So I will update that.
Thank you so much.
And just for, if I may, Commissioner,
Mm-hmm.
just for Commissioner Roy, but also the public, but you know, our commissioners, we're giving folks till January 23rd to come back with all this. And even us as commissioners, like we're gonna go back, all of you know, including us that worked on this, we're gonna go back and like look at it. We've been looking at it for too long, so this is good to have a fresh pair of eyes. When we come back on January 23rd, all those comments, suggestions that other commissioners and ourselves have and the public, if folks participate, are going to be helpful because then we can include that in the actual line by line, word by word, red line meeting that we'll have. Possibly, I would say, you know, February. So just, you know, keep that in mind. I know the holidays are coming and everything else, but if, you know, us commissioners can really look at this, it'll help Mike Baker to start baking in some of these things that are, you know, that we're catching right now. So,
All set.
yeah, just, I guess we're talking out loud.
All right. Deputy GC, continue.
Thank you. So the next amendments that we can speak to are the fees. Mr. Acting Chair, Commissioner Camargo, do you want to speak towards the policy reason for landing on the numbers that are here?
No, I think, you know, the high level, we tried to keep it consistent with application fees for other entities. Certainly, you'll see social consumption establishment, marijuana event organizer has lower application fee, lower annual license fee, just based on the level of capital, level of overhead that's required. You know, I think the supplemental, which is already attached to an existing marijuana establishment, we decided to keep that license fee a little bit lower, or again, all proposing in our draft to keep it a little bit lower because it's somebody that we already know, somebody that might already be operating at, you know, a specific establishment space. Hospitality, again, trying to keep consistent with the application fees, starting with a annual license fee that's, you know, consistent with the retailer, consistent with the delivery operator as well. So folks that we know are building out space. Okay.
All right. So we're back under 050. Again, I spoke towards the allocation for control limits. But another good thing to point out is throughout 050, we make amendments to allow for supplemental on-site consumption in existing MEs establishments or premises. And that's so that they can have this consumption space attached to an existing ME. So we felt that express language to amend and add a new language there was important. Again, going through 050, under 0506, again, is where the bulk of the amendments are being made. Under A, there's two very important provisions here that the working group wanted to make sure that they included. So the first is providing food and water, and the second is to allow patients to bring their own or get delivery to the social consumption establishment. So I would say we're anticipating a lot of feedback pertaining to these two provisions. They were definitely a priority for the working group, and so commissioners, don't know if you have anything to say about those two.
Yeah, I mean, just for me, real quickly, we've engaged a lot with patient advocacy groups, trying to figure out how, patients, again, many of them using this for medicine, might have the opportunity to come into a consumption space, understanding that their product might be different than what's available through a regular marijuana establishment retailer, but giving them the option of showing that they have a medical product with them, or they could have it delivered there. Again, it was our solution. We're looking for feedback on it. And certainly, it's somewhat expansive of social consumption as we've seen in other jurisdictions. And we're just trying to allow patients the same access to social consumption establishments while also having access to the products that they need.
No, I mean, I've shared it before. I mean, I know we're gonna keep talking about it, but, this was something that we, had a lot of conversation about, and we, we found a balance for it, I think, and I'm hoping to, folks will give us some feedback, and, for people who are business owners in the industry. I know Commissioner Roy just did a roundtable yesterday. It'd be good to hear from, folks who are out there who are actually grinding and doing this in terms of some of the patient portion of these regs. So yeah, looking forward to comments.
I just want to say one thing before moving on. I think the working group wrestled with this provision a lot as it pertains to how to include medical. And I know that our medical advocates are listening, so I want to speak to it. There was a lot of advocacy to include it, to include patient access as much as possible. And I think that the working group landed on this because of the vertical integration issue. And it really limited the working group with where we could go with this issue. And so this is the extent that I think the working group felt comfortable making while we're under the statutory restrictions we have in place.
And also, we heard from our staff. Like, I definitely want to give credit to our team in terms of our staff on our working group, but also staff that was not part of the working group that advocated for this. There are patients, I think, also, and, folks who, work here and are patients as well. So I think, we kept that in mind, and folks advocated, and people have been, talking to us the last, months that we've been working on this. So we heard you, and like Mike said, we struggled and we came up with this balance. So, again, would love to hear from business owners when it comes to this, specifically when you read the regs.
Thank you, Mr. Acting Chair. So under 0506B, we established the different classes, the three that we've explained before. So the specific requirements for these license classes are listed under here. It really will kind of give the finer details of what is required for these licenses, but I think it's probably one of the most important sections that we're amending. So I definitely would have the public focus on this when they're reviewing and giving us testimony. And then C, so 0506C is this exclusivity period. And, you know, we're also doing the delivery exclusivity period review right now. And so we just had that working groups public hearing, virtual public hearing last week. Got a lot of feedback for that. And, you know, similarly, we're looking for feedback as it pertains to this exclusivity period here. So that's under, again, 0506C.
Yeah, just to, again, touch upon this point, original regs, again, that were drafted back in 2019, we're using a consistent exclusivity period of 3 years. Obviously, as Deputy General Counsel said, looking at is that exclusivity period expires for that started when the first delivery operator commenced operations, not when the first delivery courier commenced operations. So, and again, I went back, had some conversations, looked at previous meeting minutes to try to determine how they came up with 36. I thought about it in a different context of if I'm funding a construction or build out of a social consumption lounge and I'm using my home equity line of credit to do it, most terms for, you know, a HELOC are 5 years up to 30 years. So again, knowing that these might require or will require extensive build out, especially for the hospitality licensee that is essentially starting with a blank slate or blank canvas almost, giving them some time to build that space out and again, commence operations as a licensed type. But again, as Commissioner Camargo has been saying, we're putting this out for people's thoughtful feedback. It's again, just, you know, a measure that we thought might be helpful to, you know, somebody who's thinking about making what we know will be a sizable investment in a piece of property, and giving them the runway to get a return on their investment.
I mean, not to get into a rant, but you know, some of these companies have been around for 3 years and haven't made their profit yet, and or are still trying to figure out, you know, building and spaces. And I run into folks all the time and they're like, oh, I'm still trying to get a space and had a provisional for 2 years, right? So I think, you know, this again, exciting times for the exclusivity period of this license type. So it's at 5 years for now. Would love the feedback.
Again, the next section that we make amendments to is 500-101. These are the application requirements or what is required upon submission of an application. I had already discussed this during my presentation before, but I'll quickly run through it again. So applicants must choose which class they're going to be, what style of consumption area they're going to have. A marijuana event organizer must pick whether they're going to warehouse. There's going to be plenty of SOPs that upon application, they will have to submit to the commission or summaries of those. In addition to that, there's going to be a couple of ways to streamline the supplemental on-site consumption license. So if you qualify, you don't need to submit finance or background documents because you're already in the system. If you're an existing ME and everything essentially for ownership is the same. And if you're not altering structural elements of the ME and you don't allow for indoor smoking consumption areas, then the architectural review seems redundant. And so therefore we would waive I don't want to use the waive, but we would not require an architectural review for that. Again, just small amendments to help streamline the process. So I think if anyone's listening and they have some ideas as it pertains to applications of ways that we could streamline for existing MEs to prop up their supplemental on-site consumption, definitely interested in hearing that feedback. This section, as I've already discussed, really does speak to a lot of SOPs and summaries that will have to be provided. So if there's anything that you feel that the working group is missing in that regard, this would be the area. Again, this is upon submission of the application, but under 141, there's additional SOPs that before commencing ops, you'll have to submit as well. So there's certainly a lot of SOPs that are going to be required for these establishments. But if you feel as though we're missing any, please, let us know. So that's the majority of the amendments that we're making under 101. The next section that we amend again is, as Commissioner Stebbins, or acting chair, had spoken to, is the core curriculum under 105. And in a similar fashion, if there's something you think we should be requiring the agents to learn under this curriculum, please submit that to us. We could add it as an amendment there. Under 141, again, these establishments will have to comply with 105, 110, 140, and this section. So a large portion of their requirements are already tackled under those sections. So if there are any specific amendments in those sections that you think are required to carve out under 141, please let us know.
Okay. Commissioner Roy, go ahead.
Thank you. This is kind of an aside, but while I'm thinking of it, I know when we do regulations in the past, we've had like impact working groups. And I'm wondering if we need that to have meetings with metric. Is metric equipped our seed to sale tracker to handle this type of, I know other states have it. Maybe it's as simple as yes. I don't know the answer to that. And our point is predominantly, I'd say 90% of the market uses the same point of sale system. And are they equipped for this new transaction that's going to take place? So I don't know if we need to have internal folks meet with these companies to discuss that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Commissioner Roy, so the good thing is that we have been working with metrics. Well, let me just begin by saying in terms of working, we have been speaking to them prior to this or parallel to us developing the regs and the process. So they were able to really support us in providing us information on other states and how they're working with other states that do have social consumption and how it works behind the scenes. So we definitely had that conversation. Andrew Carter, I think I'm meeting with Andrew tomorrow morning, actually. And Mercedes are working on what the internal impact and external impact group is going to look like, and working with all our chiefs and directors to start thinking about all those things. I think one of the things that I'm really proud of throughout this process is that, and Commissioner Roy, I mean, you know this, and everybody, has been questioning it, right? Why has this taken the time that it's taken? And we kind of went through that presentation on the 5th in terms of how we, kicked it off the last year and a half, but we have been able to work parallel with all those agencies that you saw. And I don't think we named metric in our PowerPoint, but we actually had very lengthy conversation with them. So I'm glad that you're bringing it up. But, I guess just sharing with us as commissioners and the public, it's one of the things that I am proud of, because what I realized in this process is that if we would have waited to have conversations, this would have been we would have been having conversation with metrics after the regs are done or after they're voted on, and not had the intel to be able to kind of plan. So, again, a lot of conversation has happened. I'm happy to bring that conversation back up, but know that it's already in the works, and when we do that impact survey, I don't know exactly what we call it internally, Andrew, I'm looking at you, but when we start doing that, all that fine detail is gonna go into this, because the internal impact is gonna be huge to the commission. And I just wrote a note to myself right now. I'm like, like, we've been in conversation with our appointing authorities about social consumption. And we also have to advocate for, public awareness dollars to be able to, and funding to be able to pull this off in Massachusetts. So all that, Commissioner Roy, and keep it coming. So this is good. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Margot. And that's amazing. I know you guys did so much outreach, so that's awesome. Like, you're already ahead of the curve with metrics. So thank you for that. And I just want to bring this up, and it's for contemplation, because I know we're going to come back on I think you said January 23rd, but yesterday, and you had mentioned the roundtable, there was new information I received that I want to share with you that could tangentially affect, like maybe get inserted somewhere in these regs, and that's around certificates of analysis. So what I'm hearing is that folks are having a hard time, whether you're a patient or a consumer, getting their hands on COAs. And there's like the wholesalers, there's a problem. Like, the wholesalers have to get it to the retailers. It's not a seamless trajectory, if you will. And so I would like to be mandatory that COAs, upon request from a patient or a consumer, and really it should be whether you're going to a retail or an MTC or a social consumption site, that needs to be readily available to folks, and it's not right now. And this is a problem out there. So I'm flagging it. I think we need to address it. And, if I'm a patient or I'm a consumer and going into social consumption and I ask for a certificate of analysis, I should have that readily available, and it's not right now.
That's great.
No, it's a good point, Commissioner Wright, and you'll talk about it potentially when we get there in terms of because we do have a section that we've redrafted on this, is what information needs to be made available to the consumer at the social consumption establishment. So thanks for flagging this.
And if I may, Acting Chair,
Of course.
Honestly, if I had a magic wand, I think we should mandate QR codes, because everywhere you go, they're readily available, as opposed to like having to print out all this paper or whatever. A simple, QR code could direct somebody to a COA. So I just want to flag that.
Yeah. May I?
Go ahead, Commissioner.
I know, right? We got to ask for permission, but Commissioner Roy, can you educate the public? I'm assuming, but can you educate folks on COAs?
Yeah, so it's my understanding that Metric has the capability for the COAs, and so this was all new to me yesterday. So basically, I think New Jersey does it now, and we can look at other jurisdictions, that if you had a QR code, it would go to a portal with all the COAs on it. So if you bought whatever, Kim Roy's pre-roll, and the COA, the QR code would send you, so you would know the TAC count, you would know everything about that product. And right now, what I'm hearing is a majority of the time, it's very difficult for a patient or consumer. Like, and it's not, I'm not faulting the MEs or the MTC. It's the system that's in place doesn't make it easy for them to get it either.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Did you have something you wanted to?
Yeah, not to go too far back, thank you, Mr. Acting Chair, but bringing these licenses online will take a significant lift, both for staff resources and for actual resources. And I just didn't want to miss the opportunity to say that while Commissioner Roy pointed out the metric issue, because yes, that's additional task for our vendor to do. And because of that, it's going to take an increased budget to pay for that. And so just wanted to use that as an example of how much it's going to take, both monetarily and staff wise, to bring these on.
No, it's a good reminder. We were reminded of this at our most recent meeting back on the 12th, where we're still implementing pieces of Chapter 180. And this is, follow-up information helpful for, again, checking the box and some of the items that were required out of that. But that were guidance documents that will be in documents that will be helpful to communities kind of in the next step of being able to invoice their licensees in their community. So this isn't, try to make this as clear as we can. New regs are not a wave of the wand. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to build it out operationally for the team here at the CCC, as well as a lot of the components that we use, whether it's metric, whether it's point of sale systems. Again, we don't regulate those, but in capacity, again, within our own team to be able to roll this out.
Just a comment.
Commissioner Camargo.
Yeah, just a check-in. I know that we have the last slide that's sort of like my favorite slide, which is the operational kind of, I don't know who's doing slides, but Mike, are you done with you're done with the slides, right?
I did include the overall.
Yeah.
I did include the overall timeline because I figured you might speak.
Yes, I love the timeline. Can we go to the timeline slide? Yeah, keep that up. And I know it's a draft, but I just want to make sure, Commissioner Roy, I know you said we'll be back on January 23rd. I just want to clarify that January 23rd is just a deadline for informal comment from the public and, commissioners and, all that good stuff. So we won't be back speaking about social consumption until possibly February. And I know we got to look at the schedule, but we're hoping that once we get, again, I feel like I've repeated this 3 times at this meeting, but I'll say it again. Once we get all those comments, we'll incorporate that to the red lines that we will then have a more thorough conversation, all of us here in public, about the red line, so that we can then, officially start the promulgation process and the Secretary of State process. And we all know that's, that takes, another 30 to 45 days possibly to start that process. So, Commissioner Stebbins, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, other than to say we will be putting up kind of our deputy GC has created kind of a quick summary of anybody who's, instead of wading through X hundred of pages of regs, they can look at what is kind of a summary where the big major changes are, and we'll make that available on the website as well. But our deputy GC was like, I can pull this together and do it before tomorrow's meeting. We're like, okay, go ahead. And he did it. So thanks to Mike, but it'll be a good reference to anybody who's looking for where the major changes are and what the major changes are about.
For sure, if I may. Yes, gracias. The email that folks are going to send comments to Mike is.
Yeah, commission@cccmass.com.
Okay, and the title will be
Social consumption.
Okay, so if folks have comments from now until January 23rd, send them into commission@cccmass.com. Title being social consumption. Myself, Commissioner Stebbins, I think our emails are on the website, but if you send them all to the commission, it's much better, because then we can have one deposit of all the regs, but of all the comments. I also want to say thank you to INE and the social consumption working group, because like I said earlier, we have worked parallel with our team. And I know Tim is here and you'll have to leave soon, but I just want to thank you guys. And Mike, thank you for putting this sort of, I don't want to call it a cheat sheet, but this nice, summary, thank you, of what we've done and what we've amended. I think the public will find this very helpful, and our commissioners will find this very helpful. And I think we talked to you at like 8 o'clock at night. So I don't know whether you slept or not, but I really appreciate you putting this together for all of us in order for us to go through this process a lot easier in terms of these regs. So thank you.
Happy to do it.
I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, again, 141, is the majority of the amendments that we're making. That's additional requirements for social consumption establishments. Just speaking to subsection 2 there's a lot of SOPs. So again, for public health and public safety focused folks, please let us know if we're missing an SOP. We were trying to consider as many things as possible to keep everyone safe and healthy. So if we missed anything there, please let us know. And that's the area in which consumers will get that information regarding the COA that Commissioner Roy referenced. So we might want to make that amendment in that section. But I would say, yeah, that's the largest portion of the amendments are on 141. So please take a look at those.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Deputy GC. Thank you, Commissioner Camargo.
And I want to thank Philip too. So he's not here today, and I know Chief Kamalo is with us.
Chief Jones.
Chief Jones, my bad. Chief Jones, I just want to thank you for, your team. Because they put a lot of time, a lot of energy, and I know Philip is not here today because he has other priorities, but they've done an amazing job, so thank you. Yeah, under your leadership, it ain't easy, I know. Yeah.
We thank legal for loaning us Mike Baker.
Yeah.
Started off on this project as an
Yeah.
associate general counsel, so,
Yeah.
worked his way up, maybe.
So, thank you.
Commissioner Roy, do you have any final thoughts, questions, comments?
Thank you, Acting Chair. Yes, I just want to thank my fellow commissioners again, and thank all the staff and Mike Baker. I know it was all hands on deck in your working group, and I know Mike, you did yeoman's work here, so I want to thank you for that. And I just look forward to taking a deep dive on these in the interim and hearing the public's feedback. Of course, that's always critically important part of this process. So thank you.
Commissioner, before you go, what I'd like to do, if there are no other thoughts and comments, I'd love to entertain a motion to officially put these out for informal public comment with a due date of comments to be set as January 23rd, 2025. Do I have such a motion? Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Roy.
And that would be submitted written, is that correct?
Yes, looking for written testimony, most likely via email or via letter via email, but however folks want to respond to us, we heard they can send any thoughts they have to commission@cccmass.com, subject heading social consumption. But again, we are only putting this out for informal public comment at this point.
Can I ask Commissioner Roy something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Commissioner Roy, what are you thinking? Because I know you're thinking right now.
No. I know thank you. There'll be an opportunity for folks to come in person. I just want folks to think that opportunity will be there. Like there will be an opportunity for the public hearing portion where folks can come in person or testify virtually or in writing. This is just like a precursor to that. And just in writing.
But Commissioner Roy, you know what? You're making me think right now about this, because I thought you were going to go with, should we have a public listening session of informal regs? So
I think we should.
But let's think about it, because that's where I thought you were going. And when you said it, I'm like, I hear you. And I know there'll be a formal session.
Right.
And maybe we encourage everyone to send everything in writing so that we can sort of review. But I also want to be accessible, right? Not everyone's like the best writer or stuff, like some folks don't have the ability to maybe send stuff in writing. So let's think about it. Because, I'm happy to, if I need to we can do something, an informal listening session where folks can, you know, dial in or show up to make sure that we include everybody, even in the informal comment, because this stuff is a little intimidating to have to read these regs. You know, this is very legal kind of wording, and then send something to the commission. And not everybody has that ability. So I'm gonna think about that. Yeah, I'm gonna think about that, because, yeah, go ahead. Upload, sorry, commissioners.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Commissioner Roy.
I support that idea because not everyone, is an attorney, has access to an attorney, knows how to redline regs, you know, so it's like, I just think it's not a bad
Yeah.
idea to hold something, a listening session.
Yeah, you know what I'll do, Commissioner Roy, because now, you know, now this is all of ours. But I'm meeting with Andrew tomorrow morning. I'll speak to Andrew. I'll talk to Commissioner Stebbins, and then we'll see if we can put something that's, you know, not a lot of heavy lifting. And maybe we just do it virtual or something, and folks who want to show up virtual to give us informal comment can. And I know staff is probably saying, oh, here comes one more meeting in January, but we'll see. But I'll work on it, and I'll provide you all feedback in the next few weeks. Oh, go ahead. Mike is gonna shatter my dreams.
Not at all. No, I just want to reiterate that this is informal.
Informal, yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have to go through the formal notice and comment period,
Yeah.
which includes that public
Yeah,
hearing.
yeah.
And that is not this. This is a precursor to that. So just clarifying, we haven't begun that Secretary of State process. That is
Yeah.
subsequent to this.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that even someone who wants to participate in informal, because folks are excited about social consumption regs, have the ability to do so if they don't feel comfortable having to put something in writing, you know? I know we have ChatGPT, but everybody uses it. Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate that. Commissioner Roy, thank you. And again, thank you for the reminder that this is not the formal process with the formal scheduled public hearing that we need, but certainly welcome the idea of an informal listening session if we can, and it could happen after the 23rd.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, correct.
Right.
It can happen after the 23rd, yes. Let me think
So-
about it, but yeah. I
Okay.
mean, listen, we get one shot at social consumption. We want to do it right in Massachusetts. That's why we've taken the time we've taken. So, you know, however we can provide a platform to people to give their thoughts, I want to make sure we do that.
Okay. Great suggestion. Great suggestion. Thank you, Commissioner Roy. Did you have something else?
Nope, just scratching my cheek,
Oh, okay.
not raising my hand.
All right. Again, I would like to entertain a motion that the commission approves the release of the red line regulations, the accompanying summary sheet, and that we are soliciting informal public comment up until January 23rd, 2025, with the possibility of holding a public listening session. I'll expand that then. I have such a motion, Commissioner. Commissioner Roy, would you second that?
Second,
Motion been made and seconded. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo. Commissioner Concepcion is not with us. Commissioner Roy.
aye.
And Commissioner Stebbins votes aye. 3 in favor, none opposed, and 1 not voting. Thank you. Next item, business. The chair did not anticipate a time of posting. I have nothing that I did not anticipate at time of posting. Our next meeting date is tomorrow afternoon, December 18th. I'm hoping will be our last meeting of the year. I don't want to jinx it. And then we are back here for business on January 9th. And also planning on January 23rd for a policy discussion, as we talked about on our calendar at the last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not around social consumption. Okay. If there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Camargo, do I have such a motion?
So,
Commissioner Roy, would you second that?
second,
Okay, motion been made and seconded to adjourn. Roll call vote. Commissioner Camargo.
Aye.
Commissioner Concepcion is not here. Commissioner Roy
aye.
and Commissioner Stebbins votes aye. 3 in favor, none opposed. Thank you all. Commissioner, feel better?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, team. Appreciate everybody's help.
Bye.